And one of the things that also was fascinating is a friend was borderline diabetic. He says, I'm no longer that at all. And I said, what was the solution? And he said, I wasn't eating enough fats. And that's the next topic I'd like to talk about. I'd like you to talk a little bit about this theory of fat, because I grew up in cut it out, and it seemed let's replace it with sugar and carbohydrates and chemicals. Is that? I think that's what is the plan, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's unfortunately the truth of what's happened. And if you look at the obesity epidemic in our country, it specifically correlates with when everyone was being told to avoid fat. And just kind of to summarize the science, the truth of it is that was bad science. Mm-hmm. If you want to learn more about how and why that's bad science, I recommend there's a great book, Eat Fat, Get Thin by Mark Hyman. He really delves into the science of that. Dr. Mercola has Fat for Fuel, where they examine more of this. But it is true that we got sidetracked because when they saw these fatty plaques in the arteries, they said, well, it must be fat that is causing this. But the way the body actually metabolizes, it's really the carbohydrates getting turned into storage fats. Probably the most important thing that everyone needs, whether or not you're a diabetic, is a slow, steady blood sugar. Mm-hmm. And when we eat carbohydrates, particularly refined carbohydrates of any sort, whether it's starches or sugars, that causes the blood sugar to spike and fall and spike and fall. So it goes up really fast, your insulin comes on board, pushes it down, you get hungry, you eat some more carbohydrates, and it happens over and over and over throughout the day. And this is why most people are actually hungry all the time when they are what we call carb adapted, mm-hmm. which is almost everybody in our country. We are carb adapted. We eat lots of carbs. And so we're constantly playing with this blood sugar issue. This is especially important if you have energy problems of any sort. It's especially important if you have any kind of brain issues, whether we're talking about mood issues, concentration issues, memory issues.
Probably ADD too, which just seems everywhere, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because the brain really is very sensitive to these fluctuations in the blood sugar. So what we want is we want to even out those fluctuations. And one of the ways to do that is to eat more fat and less carbs. It is important to eat more fat with less carbs because the combination of the fat and carbs together, that's a really bad combination, and that's really what puts the plaques in the arteries.
I see.
And
so
so
you
this
both
is,
of them. You're really, it's like a power boost with the fat. Here's the sugar, deliver the fat to them, right?
Exactly. So, that's like a donut. It's like pizza. Many of them, it's the cheeseburger. So, those things have that combination of both things, and that's why they're not very healthy for you, because they really are very inflammatory, which not only causes the fat to stick on, it specifically tells it to deposit it in the arteries. And so inflammation is what we have learned is actually the root cause. Heart disease, Alzheimer's, strokes, diabetes, osteoporosis, cancer, all of these things are actually caused by inflammation. And if we remember that 2/3 of our immune system is in the gut, what you eat determines whether or not you're inflamed more than anything else that there is. What we're eating is not just those building blocks of proteins and fats and carbs. It is also the micronutrients, so particularly plant products, your colored plants, especially your greens and reds and yellows and oranges and so forth. Those have what are called phytonutrients, which means plant-derived nutrients, that are present in micro amounts, and they turn on the most beneficial factors in your body. Most people who do what we call the SAD diet, the standard American diet, have too little of the colors because they're eating a lot of refined grains and white potatoes and meats, and not enough of those phytonutrients to tell the body what to do with the macronutrients. It's really a double whammy, because not only are we eating inflammatory foods, we're not eating enough of those micronutrients to actually tell the body how to clean up the damage from that.
Where do you start with fats? I mean, where's the beginning? Because obviously you shouldn't go out and get a pack of Slim Jims and carry it with you or something, Where do you start with the fats?
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of people end up choosing something like a low-carb paleo sort of a diet. And if you haven't heard of paleo before, it's short for Paleolithic. And the idea is it's what we call an ancestral diet. Over 250,000 years of human evolution, that's what we ate.